Hello, friends, and welcome to the Horseshoe Show here on Search Words TV. And happy November to everyone. I am your host, Jack Rizzo. Thank you, everyone, for joining me tonight. And I am thrilled that all of you are joining me on this beautiful Wednesday night. It's certainly a cold one here in New Jersey. Finally, the cold fall weather is finally starting to come here on the first day of November. But let's talk about some football, though, shall we? Um, Again, this show obviously strictly covers the Indianapolis Colts, my team. Eli, who's a Seahawks fan, we have our show for all 32 teams that we cover on the 12th Horseshoe podcast, which airs every Tuesday and Friday. But no more. Let's get right into it. Let's get right into the Colts content. So, unfortunately, the Colts lost last week to the New Orleans Saints. The final score: the Saints won 38-27. It was a rough. It was certainly a rough one for the Colts. Their third consecutive loss after a 3-2 start. Their playoff hopes are starting to slip away. And there are many reasons why the Colts have gone on this winning streak. I'll start off with Shane Steichen, the coach. Obviously, Shane Steichen has brought a great offensive mind to the Colts early in the season. He has made some great. Some of his play calling has been fantastic. He's definitely changed the culture in that locker room. Certainly, watching those locker room videos certainly shows how much he's changed the culture there. But it's been a little rough for him, and he certainly had a lot of rookie mistakes as a head coach. And I've talked about them each of the last few weeks. Made several more on Sunday against the Saints, but again, it's expected to happen. The biggest mistake he made, though, Jonathan Taylor played extremely well in the first half. Had a couple of drives where it was just all Jonathan Taylor, and he just did a great job on those first two drives. Well, in the second half, he had one carry in the second half, and this was not injury wise or anything like that. Jonathan Taylor just strictly had two carries. Now, Shane Steichen said he actually defended this by not putting JT and basically saying that this is like the direction he felt it going in. It felt like Zach Moss had the hot hand, and the Colts were in a bit more passing situations. But still, for Jonathan Taylor, who had by far the best first half out of any player on the Colts offense, to have just play one snap in the second half is honestly pretty unacceptable, even if you are a first-year head coach. Um, so I was certainly disappointed in Shane Steichen for that. Just also made a couple of mistakes, a couple of just not so great play calls, just some bad execution on offense. But the offense still played well. They scored 27 points. The Colts remain the only team in the NFL to have scored at least 20 points in all of their games this year. So you certainly have to give Shane Steichen credit for that. But it's been a little rough these last few weeks. I mean, the Colts were just sitting at 3-2 and looking pretty good in the AFC playoff race. Now they dropped to 3-5, and they have quite a bit of ground to gain if they want to get back at the AFC standings. So rough game for Shane Steichen, and unfortunately, the Colts, who had played 4 of the last 5 at home, were really able to capitalize on that. Just 1-4 in their last 5, 1-3 at Lucas Oil Stadium, with that only win coming against Tennessee. Now the Colts are 3-5. They are out of the AFC playoff race, so now that they can definitely get back into it, but they're going to have to start turning things pretty quickly, especially considering the fact that the Colts did not make a single move at the trade deadline, which we'll talk about here right now. So yeah, the trade deadline came and went. The Colts did not make any moves. Now, we weren't really expecting the Colts to be that active. We were thinking they would kind of be in the range of like a buyer or seller because, again, they're not really going to go far this year, but they're also not really going to sell because they're not going to be bad enough to sell really either. We thought they just kind of stand pat, and that's exactly what they did. They did not make one move. I thought maybe somebody get moved. I thought maybe Zach Moss would get moved maybe to a team that could use him more. Maybe we'd bring in like a veteran corner to try to help our secondary. But the deadline came and went, and Chris Ballard did not do anything. So I can't really say I'm disappointed because I wasn't really expecting anything. But yeah, that's just how it turned out. Speaking of Chris Ballard, to me, he was the reason why the Colts lost this Sunday, why they have struggled the last 3 weeks. We knew the Colts secondary was actually pretty good last year. Stephon Gilmore played like his normal Pro Bowl self, and Isaiah Rodgers showed some more growth. Kenny Moore is solid. The safety, Rodney Thomas, broke out in his rookie season. So the secondary was good last year. You thought they'd improve this year. Well, a couple of things happened that didn't allow for that. By the way, Luke is in here. I forgot. Hi, Jack. Appreciate you as always in here, Luke. Always supporting me. You know, Luke is one of my good friends from. Yeah. So really appreciate you being in here. But yeah, so obviously the Colts secondary has really gone downhill this year. I mean, Stephon Gilmore was traded to Dallas. Isaiah Rodgers, of course, suspended from the gambling policy. And Chris Ballard, it wasn't his fault for these things happening, but it was his fault for not going out and addressing the secondary after, just not doing anything to address it. Decided to go with two starters on the outside. I believe I played like one or two combined defensive snaps in their career. And the results show the Colts secondary has gotten torched the majority of the season. Really only in really only good game that the secondary has had this year was the week 3 against the Baltimore Ravens. But again, the Ravens were more of a run first team. It was a pretty bad game in the rain, so you could understand why. But the secondary just gotten torched this year. They were the reason why we lost to the Rams in week 4, reason why we lost to Jacksonville in week 1, and they're the reason why we lost this week. I know the Saints have really struggled this year, but Derek Carr is still a veteran quarterback, so he's going to know that if a secondary is bad, we're not going to blitz it. He's just going to pick apart the secondary. That's exactly what he did, especially on Tony Brown. Oh, man, Tony Brown. We'll get to him in a second. But yeah, Chris Ballard's decision to not address the secondary, just play nobody's out there, has cost the Colts several games this year. And Chris Ballard has just been really stubborn about it. Also, just not really doing much to upgrade the interior O-line and all that stuff. So, no, I know Chris Ballard has done some good things. I know he's had some good draft picks, but 0 division titles in now his 7th season kind of speaks for itself. Also has a losing record. I honestly think Chris Ballard should be fired. I don't care about Anthony Richardson. If he does good, that's because of Shane Steichen, not because of Chris Ballard. So I think it's time for Ballard to go. He just has done more harm than good here, way more harm than good, especially these last few years. So I think it's time for the Colts to get rid of Chris Ballard once and for all. All right, so as we know, Anthony Richardson is out for the season. He had season-ending shoulder surgery last week on Tuesday, so he's out for the season. So it's Gardner Minshew the rest of the way. And as much as we love Gardner, reality is starting to settle in. 3 straight losses now for him. Just has not really been able to protect the football. Threw a bad interception today when the Colts were only down by 1 and threatening to get into field goal range. Made a couple of other mistakes. The Colts were never really able to get much done on third down, and as much as I love Gardner, his limitations are really showing. He's not really that mobile. I mean, he is a little bit, but once pressure's coming, it's hard for him to get out of it. He just makes some really questionable decisions with the football. And, Gardner has certainly been pretty worrisome this season, especially these last 3 weeks. And it's kind of how Gardner's been. If he comes in to start, he's going to have a game or two where he's really plays pretty incredible and then just start to stink and show why he is a backup quarterback. Overall, though, Minshew went 23 of 41 for 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Took 2 sacks. So not a bad game at all, but not a good one either. And again, we're going to need Gardner to step up if we want to start racking up these wins for sure. So hopefully he could start to do a little better for the Colts soon because they need him because Anthony Richardson's not going to be back, and I don't think Sam Ehlinger is getting a shot anytime soon. Now, Gardner did make a couple of good throws, made some good ones to Josh Downs, made an incredible throw to Drew Ogletree in the end zone. Just absolutely remarkable throw there. One of the best throws he's made all season. But the main, I know the Colts scored 27 points, so another good offensive performance from them. The main reason why, though, they scored that many points is because of their rushing game. The Colts racked up, let's see here. They racked up 164 yards on the ground. They averaged almost 7 yards per carry. Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss both played well. Taylor had 95 yards. Taylor 95 and Zach Moss at 66. Certainly a great game for both of them. And we got my broadcast partner Eli is here. By the way, in case you guys don't know, Eli and I are going on an interview with Hull All In on New Jersey All In on High School Sports for New Jersey. So that's at 9:30 tonight. So if you guys want to see that, make sure you check that out. And he says big news overnight with the Raiders GM head coach. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's certainly major changes coming to Vegas. We're going to talk about this on Friday on our show. But yeah, in case you guys don't know, the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. They fired Dave Ziegler, their GM. They fired their offensive coordinator. And yes, Jimmy G has been benched, and Aidan O'Connell is supposed to start the rest of the season. So major changes coming in Las Vegas. Not surprised that Josh McDaniels got fired. I mean, he lost to Jeff Saturday. I mean, that's really all you need to speak of there. Colts are in for an interesting schedule upcoming, including this weekend with the Panthers and Patriots in Germany. Absolutely. These are two. The Colts have to win both of these games if they want to stay in the playoff race. And I think they can win both of them, but it's going to be interesting, though, because both are on the road, so it might be a little tough. Both teams fighting for more wins. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the Colts running game once again played really well. I mean, they should have got more touches in that second half, but hopefully JT gets some more carries this week. I mean, he can't have just 12 carries in a game. And Zach Moss played solid as well. Zach Moss had a really cool touchdown where he got some and then was reached the ball over the goal line, turned around. So it was a really cool play. So good there. Receiving wise, so we got numbers. Josh Downs was once again the leading receiver, 7 grabs, 72 yards. He's up to 40 catches for 473 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. He is just having a magnificent season. Josh Downs is one of the best receivers out of this draft class so far. Absolutely love the way that he is playing. What a find he was. Alec Pierce, 3 for 41. Michael Pittman, 8 for 40. So Pittman had 8 catches. Pittman also had a touchdown on a beautiful 4th down call by Shane Steichen. That was one good play he made. Little fake play action and Pittman out to the right, and it was a walk-in touchdown. Drew Ogletree had the amazing touchdown throw that I talked about with Minshew. Threw it into double coverage and somehow found Drew Ogletree in the back of the end zone. Just a remarkable play by both of them. So really cool to see that. And then just some other players that got 1 reception each. The defense gave up 2 sacks. The defense gave up 2 sacks. Or the offensive line gave up 2 sacks. And honestly, they played well. It was more so Gardner making some mistakes and the Colts just not being able to pick up 3rd downs. It really hurt them. Now, the Colts did go 7 of 16, so that's not bad. But in the 4th quarter, they certainly struggled in that regard. The Colts defense, which had kept them in several games, they won the game for the Colts against the Ravens. They won the game for the Colts against the Titans. They played pretty solid the first 2 weeks, or the first few weeks. But oh man, these last 3 weeks have been rough. They've given up 114 points the last 3 weeks. 114 points. They're giving up an average of 38 points per game these last 3 weeks. They've given up 37, 38, 9, and 38 points in weeks 6, 7, and 8, respectively. That is just unacceptable, and it's part of the secondary problem. Now, Juju Brents is hurt with a quad injury. Dallas Flowers out for the season. So we have Darrell Baker and Tony Brown as our starting quarterbacks, which I don't know if we really want. Tony Brown got burned, gave up almost 200 yards receiving yesterday, gave up a long touchdown to Rashid Shaheed, got burned by him a couple of other times. Shaheed alone had 130 yards receiving, so just crazy from him. Just, again, an unacceptable performance from him, although more so on Chris Ballard for this guy even starting, and I can't believe that he wasn't benched at any point, kind of like the way Darrell Baker was benched in week 2. I guess they just had nobody left. Darrell Baker also struggled. He's just had a bad year as well. The safeties have done okay. Kenny Moore is still good, but again, with the Saints having 3 really good receivers, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and Rashid Shaheed, you just know that a veteran quarterback like Derek Carr is going to pick apart this secondary. That is why the Colts struggled on Sunday. Now, the Colts also struggled to stop Alvin Kamara, who looked really good. Had 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving. Yeah, so 59 yards and a touchdown, over 110 total yards of offense and 2 touchdowns. They also struggled to stop Taysom Hill, who's their leading rusher, averaged 7 yards a carry and had 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, I just found that unacceptable. The fact that the Colts had 2 guys on the line every time or 4 guys in line every time he'd run. Because when he's in the backfield, they're going to just run it with him. What else is he in there for? He's not a good passer. The one throw that he did make to Rashid Shaheed was called an interception, but then rolled a catch after that. But it was still a horrible throw, though, by Taysom Hill. So just bad defensive scheming. I've talked about Gus Bradley a lot and how I'm not really a that big of a fan of Gus Bradley. Honestly, I know last year he did some great things. I know this year he's done some okay things. But I think he's holding back this talented defense back. And honestly, I think the Colts should just go ahead and fire him and get a guy in there who's going to be more blitz happy. He's going to put the guys in a better position to win. Because you can blame the players all you want. But again, the coordinator is the guy who is responsible for putting them in the best positions to win. And I know the players didn't play well, but Gus Bradley did not put them in the best positions to win, especially leaving Tony Brown one-on-one with a burner, Rashid Shaheed, and having 4 guys on the line with Taysom Hill in the backfield. The front seven played pretty solid. Zaire Franklin, 14 more tackles on Sunday, just absolutely crazy. Shaq Leonard, 11 tackles. The Colts forced 1 turnover, which came on a strip sack by DeForest Buckner and recovered by Dio Odengbo. Both of them are off to good starts this season. So some aspects of the defense played well. The defense did good stopping Alvin Kamara in the rushing game, but other than that, just a little bit rough for the defense. That one strip sack was the only sack that the Colts defense got, which is unacceptable, especially with a guy like Carr. They should be blitzing more and getting more sacks, so not good there. Shaky game for the defense. I mean, they've given up at least 37 points each of the last 3 weeks, 114 points overall, 38 a game. Just a really rough day for the Colts defense. And I don't know, if they're going to keep playing like this, then the Colts might actually get Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft. Like, I'm not even joking. And then on special teams, Matt Gay 2 for 2 on field goals, and then 3 for 3 on extra points. He is having a fantastic season. I believe he's only missed 2 kicks so far. One of them was a little wide to the right, and the other was blocked. That one hardly even counts, but he has just been a great addition to the Colts as a kicker. All right, so this week the Colts are playing the Carolina Panthers, the Frank Reich revenge game at Bank of America Stadium in Carolina, a 4:05 p.m. kickoff on CBS with my guy Kevin Harlan calling the game, the best announcer in football. This is funny. This is actually the Colts' first kickoff this season that will not air at 1 o'clock. The first 8 games for the Colts all kicked off at 1 o'clock Eastern. This one is 4 o'clock. And the Colts actually have a 3-week stretch where they don't have any 1 o'clock kickoffs. They kick off at 4 o'clock this weekend. Then they kick off at 10 o'clock or 9:30 next Sunday in Germany. And then they have a bye week after that. So a bit of a break for the Colts in the 1 o'clock slate. But should be an interesting one, though. Obviously, the Panthers got their first win last week over the Houston Texans. The Colts are favored by 2.5 points. Should be an interesting one. There could be a lot of points scored, or there could be very few scored at all. We'll have to see. I mean, this game could really go either way. Bryce Young has been getting better and better each and every week. I think he is going to be just fine in Carolina. I still don't know about Frank Reich as a coach, but he did hand over play calling duties to Thomas Brown. And the Panthers' offense already looked better without Frank Reich calling the plays. And again, this was a problem with the Colts too, with how bad he was calling plays. So, good for the Panthers that they made the right move and now have Thomas Brown calling the plays, because the offense certainly works better with it. I think the Colts' familiarity though with Frank Reich is going to help them in this one. I think the Colts have a good chance of getting a bounce back win here. They need one. This is a must-win game if they want to have any hope of staying in the AFC playoff race. And I have the Colts coming out on top in a high-scoring game, 31-26. I just don't really know how I feel about this defense, but I think the offense is going to do just enough, and they're going to force a couple of turnovers on Bryce Young to help them get this win. And they will improve to 4-5 on the season. All right, that's pretty much going to do it here on the Horseshoe Show. Quick episode today. Just wanted to quickly recap the Colts episode, or the Colts game against the Saints, and preview against the Panthers. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Make sure to catch my interview with Eli on All In on High School Sports at 9:30. Eli with Sports Mono on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock with Jim, or I don't know what time it is this week, but with Jim. Eli and I are calling the same area state playoff game for football Friday night against DePaul Catholic, so make sure you join us for that right here on Surge Sports. And Eli and I on the 12th Horseshoe podcast every Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday for the recap and Friday for the preview. And my show every Wednesday. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Jack Rizzo signing off here on the Horseshoe Show. And go Colts and go Rangers. And maybe we'll see if the Texas Rangers can win it all tonight. But thank you, everyone, for watching. Jack Rizzo signing off. Good night, everyone.